Good evening and welcome to Mello TV. I'm your host, Nicole Hales. A little over 18 months, the JLP have been in power and have been given the privilege to lead this beautiful country. Faced with the issues of the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing crime rate, among other things, the people have thrown their support for the JLP to lead the country at this time. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was left with the task of appointing ministers that will help to guide the country through the challenges and successes the country will experience. Tonight, we will find out which minister the Jamaican people believe is doing the best and worst job. Joining me tonight is renowned pollster Bill Johnson, who will reveal who the Jamaican people say is the best and worst minister. Here also to analyze the findings and possible reasons for the people's answers is political analyst and commentator Paul Bourne. Good evening, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Bill, break down the numbers for us. Who do the people say is the best government minister?
Yes, well, 33% of those interviewed have an opinion in terms of whom the best government minister is. Christopher Tufton came out on top with 14%. Edmund Bartlett was second with 5%. And Dr. Nigel Clark was third with 3%. Now, interestingly, these are the same three who were on top in our last poll, which was conducted 18 months ago. In that case, Tufton was on top, followed by Clark, and then by Bartlett. Also, if you look at just JLP voters, 23% of them say that Tufton is doing the best job as the government minister.
Wow, I can tell you 33% of the population could name someone who they thought was doing a good job as a government minister. Of that 33%, let's break down the numbers. Only 14% gave Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton a passing grade, outdistancing Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett by almost a 3-to-1 margin. And next up is Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark with 3%. Paul, what do you make of these numbers?
The numbers in essence are sad in terms of if it is you have a large sample and only 33% of persons can respond to selecting a good minister, it indicates that there are some serious challenges occurring inside people's mind that they do not want to respond. So that is one side to the coin. But the other side to the coin is Dr. Tufton, Dr. Edmund Bartlett, and Nigel Clark continue to be good faces of the party. And this is not just yesterday, this has been for some time. But one can sort of understand Dr. Tufton in terms of what he has been doing in terms of the Ministry of Health. And people see that. And what he has also done in terms of the COVID, in response to COVID and the program that he has actually done. So that is sort of clear. Now, Dr. Clark's numbers is somewhat for me low. And why it is low, because I think in terms of the structure of things in Jamaica, in terms of the economy, although there are issues and there are challenges in terms of the economy, there are clear signs that we are doing pretty well in terms of the economy. So I'm sort of surprised that the numbers are that low. But Edmund Bartlett continued to do a good job, and you can actually see. And I presume a part of these numbers are persons in Jamaica who are in the tourism sector giving him this number, because I presume they are saying they want the country to be opened. All right? And of course, all of this, though, as I said before, is not a good sign for the Jamaica Labour Party, because it means that almost 2/3 of the people did not respond to a critical question like this. Nevertheless, the numbers are as they are.
Let's expand the whole issue of the pandemic, because you raised it a short while ago. Is it fair to say that the pandemic has impacted the responses? Is having Dr. Tufton in the public's eye made him a viable person to be the people's favorite, or is it credited to Dr. Tufton's ability that even though the pandemic has had challenging times on his ministry, Jamaicans credit him for how he has been dealing with the pandemic?
We can even go back before the pandemic, because when you look at prior to the pandemic, Dr. Tufton clearly has a good face that Jamaicans love, all right? Outside of Mr. Holness, he's one of those constant faces in people's mind. that even when leadership comes up, people are saying he could be a prospective leader. All right? So he has that face as that persona in terms of a good person, but not only a good person, but also a leader in terms of the area that he chooses. So when you look at what is happening in the pandemic, there's no different in terms of how Dr. Tufton operates, because he continues to operate within the face of being an excellent leader and a person who understands his field. So my only issue is, though, in terms of the numbers, only 14% of Jamaicans are saying that he has done a good job of the 33%. So that, for me, is somewhat of a challenge. But he continues to outdo and outshine all other members of the cabinet and government ministers. And that's a good job that Mr. Tufton is doing, clearly.
Paul, let's go even deeper. Having only 33% of the total population unwilling to tell who the best government minister is this telling of how slim of a margin the total population has confidence in our ministers and their leadership?
And the answer to that is an absolute yes. Well, let's break down some of the things. If you observe carefully what has been actually going on in Jamaica for some time now, and we can track back from as early as 1944 in terms of what has been happening, lower and lower number of persons have been actually voting. And to the point where the People's National Party still can claim in Jamaica that they lost the election only because their members did not actually go out and vote, or those persons are sympathetic towards and did not go and vote. So what does that translate into? That translates into political apathy. So where would that political apathy be coming from? One, the social inequalities inside the system, the injustices that are inside the system, the crime that is actually going out of hand, and how COVID-19 is addressed. So people are just downright fed up with the political structure inside Jamaica. So because they are frustrated with the political structure, you are seeing these numbers. Now, if we actually go back to periods before this, in terms of the 1970s and before that, in terms, when you ask Jamaicans what is happening, a large percent of Jamaicans normally would indicate a response. We can look at Carlstone's poll in terms of the response rate in terms of Jamaicans. So what is happening inside these figures is clear political apathy. People are just downright frustrated with politicians, not the JLP only, but politicians. So the numbers are reflecting their political apathy.
Our news team went on the streets today and asked the public who they thought was the best and worst government ministers, and this is what they had to say.
I can tell you very clearly that the Prime Minister is doing a very good job. Tufton, also, Bartlett, I'm in Montego Bay, I can tell you.
As far as how I see it, I see none of them are do good in them boss. Yeah, right, so I not feel what them do, I not see what them do. Even if them do something good, we not see it, we not feel it. So we need to feel what them do and not see what them do. If them do something good, you understand? Yeah. I don't know if it's bigger than them or what them claim to say are the problem, but them need to do something about it and make Jamaican people them feel like them do some work. You see me?
There is no minister push out no effort to the education system right now, because the education system is poor. If you look right around Jamaica right now, less youth I go to school. You understand? I see right now, the minister them can step up the game and do way more better, because we deserve better. This one deliberately goes out to the Minister of Education. You can do a 10 times more better. You understand? And we will love you more and proud of you more, because we know you can do it.
Generally, me personally disappointed with the way how the political arena arranging in Jamaica right now. Because me personally not see no real solutions. And as far as the people go, the people them basically are suffer. Because me not see no people we are going like them pleased about the political situation. You have some people who align to certain party who are say Ray and who are say Ray and I go and like it a work for them. You know, but in general in the places where me go, I don't see nothing go on.
And for the Minister of Security, you see all of the youth them right now, but they make trouble. They don't have to make no trouble, you know. Because the trouble what them make, you know, call for.
Bill, you heard the views of the public. Break down the numbers for us. Were they spot on? Who do they believe is the worst government minister?
Okay, well, 23% nominated somebody for being the worst government minister. Horace Chang with 13% was mentioned the most often, followed by Bobby Montague with 3% and Fayval Williams with 2%. Now, I've been asking this question in Jamaica for 25 years, and I think every time we've asked it, the Minister of National Security has been named as the worst government minister, no matter who he is, no matter which political party controlled the government. It's sort of just, it goes with the position, I guess, given the way that crime has been such an issue in this country over the last 25 years or so.
Paul, the Mello TV Bill Johnson poll is spot on. In January, when the polls were conducted to now, the people still feel the same way. Your thoughts?
You know, I want to look at some numbers in terms of the Vox Pop. Of the 5 persons that were interviewed, 3 of the persons indicated that they are disappointed with the government or political apathy. And that shows exactly what is happening. So all that means is about 40% of the persons in Jamaica are otherwise in terms of the thing. So when you look at Bill's figures in terms of 33% of the person responding, it is almost that the person went to do the Vox Pop interview, did some sort of sampling. It will appear as that, because that indicates to me that what is actually going on in Jamaica is people are just downright fed up. And when you hear what them speak about in terms of the minister, you realize they identify the worst person to be the minister of national security. And when we look now back, historically what was going on is that everybody in terms of, traditionally in terms of politics, who goes into that ministry has always been actually tarnished. Dr. Peter Phillips was actually into Ministry of Finance, so did very well. As he was brought into the Ministry of National Security, everything actually turned upside down. So we can sort of see that. And it's not yesterday, it's years before that. And why is that so? Crime. You're looking at a country where that is ranked in the top 10 in terms of the most murderous place in the world. Think about that. And what is going on? No one is able to address that issue. And I presume as a result of that, anybody who goes inside of ministry will always be tarnished and always be destroyed. So irrespective of what Dr. Chang does, he will always be seen as the worst person if he continues to be here. And if it were that Mr. Holness were to be given the Ministry of National Security and Justice, he would be likewise, because the ministry is not addressing the problems that Jamaica has. But not only the ministry, the government by generally. So what people actually do is to ascribe to the government non-handling of crime in Jamaica to the Minister of National Security.
Still on the issue of crime and the National Security Ministry, let's delve deeper, Paul. Crime is a constant issue for the Jamaican people. 13% of the population responded, and 13% say National Security Minister Dr. Chang comes out as the worst performing minister. The people are speaking loudly. What should Dr. Chang, and by the extension the Prime Minister and the entire government, take from these findings?
It's a difficult job, but who can they actually put in that ministry? All right, currently Dr. Tufton is doing very well. If they were to take Dr. Tufton and put Dr. Tufton in that ministry, he'll be destroyed likewise. Because as I've been saying and continue to say, in order for Jamaica to actually have a reverse in terms of what is actually going on, there are a number of things that we are going to have to do. We are going to have to deal with some of the injustices, the social inequalities, and the inequities inside the society. Now, that is not only the role of the government, because a number of private individuals, entrepreneurs, or whether you want to call them the elite class or the bourgeoisie, whatever you want to actually call them, they are a critical part of the process. And if they are not willing to give up some of their power for other persons to benefit in the society, the numbers will always be staggering and actually be like this for any individual who actually go into that ministry. Now, Normally, what would actually happen is for a prime minister to reshuffle the cabinet and change the minister of national security. But who would actually want that ministry at the moment? No one will actually want that ministry. So maybe what they are actually doing at the moment is sticking that ministry to Mr. Chang since he has been there and he has been actually battered and wounded, and no other person will actually want to be wounded. So it's a difficult ministry. It's a difficult thing to do because I do not see that Jamaica solving this crime problem, whether in the medium term or the short term, because there are so many things that are in the crime situation that for us to pick out, deal with zinc fence or giving some persons work is not going to solve the problem, or even killing a few of the persons, or even for all of those persons or most of those persons want to go be a particular area dying, that is just not going to solve the problem. So any individual who goes in that ministry is going to be tarnished by that ministry.
As we heard in the Vox Pop earlier, the Education Ministry was mentioned, and the Education Ministry has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, among other issues. What should Minister Favor Williams take away from the numbers? Still with you, Paul.
Favor Williams, you have a difficult ministry within the context of what is happening with COVID, because a part of the reason why a number of persons are disappointed with the minister is not so much that she's not actually doing anything, but the fact that many of their children are home. And because the children are home and they're not, well, historically they know that children ought to be in school and participate in the teaching learning process, and that's not happening. They are putting a part of that blame on the minister. So indirectly the minister is getting a part of the blame of COVID-19. So I can understand that. So if I were her or handlers, I would say to her, not worry about what is actually going on with COVID. What you should do is to put in place measures that immediately after this, persons can see that you really wanted good for the children, betterment for the children, but it's just that COVID-19 marked one of the things that you wanted to do, and people misunderstood that they were ascribed to you only because it's a reality. But it's not that she should actually think that I'm doing badly, I'm doing the worst. She's in a situation where there's nothing that she can do because she did not start COVID, and she's clearly not going to actually finish COVID. So, Minister, what you should do now is to put in place measures that immediately after this, the Jamaican people can actually see that their children are being educated.
Okay, Paul, we're moving on to another minister. The Prime Minister has since moved Robert Montague in the reshuffling of his cabinet from the transport and mining portfolio. Did he see what the people saw? Because he was the second highest choice of worst performing minister by the Jamaican people.
Did the Prime Minister see what Bill is actually seeing? And I would assume that the Prime Minister as individuals were actually doing poll and statistics for him, or the office. And as a result, I'm saying that he would have made some decisions squarely on numbers. Now, it appears as though every ministry Robert Montague enters is at the worst end of the stick. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's a matter relating to personality. I'm not sure what exactly is. But can one individual always be so tarnished that whatever ministry he goes into, he does badly? I'm not sure. But what I can say to the minister, though, is that you need to re-examine what you're doing or not doing. And if you have recognized what it is that you're not doing, then, sir, you need to begin doing it right now.
All right, Paul, before we go, what should be the focus of the government moving forward from these findings, and how can the opposition People's National Party help in ensuring that the ministers are on their P's and Q's with the country's business?
Well, I can begin with the opposition individuals. Opposition does not mean only to oppose, but it also means to give solutions. So what the opposition individuals can do is to put forward to Jamaican people, and by extension those who are in government in the ministerial positions, options that they can actually choose. And as a result of that, ask them daily, minutely, hourly, to ensure that they are practicing safe and just measures to ensure that whatever ministry that they are in benefit from the knowledge as well as benefit from the experience that they are going through. What can the government take away from this? There are some underperforming individuals that you have inside your portfolio. The crime ministry is a difficult one. COVID-19 is actually here, and I'm not sure how long it will be here to actually stay for. So what is it that the Prime Minister should actually do? Is to look at these figures. He doesn't have to reshuffle the cabinet. He doesn't have to change portfolio or change some of his junior ministers. But what he can do is to give them a new mandate to ensure that they up their game so that the numbers can actually change. Because when you look at only 33% of persons actually wanting to indicate whether you're doing good or doing bad, that is not a good sign at all within the context that there's high political apathy, there is continuous erosion of persons who want to go to vote. So if all of this continues, all that is going to happen after a while, the election booth could be open, and maybe the ministers and the party stalwarts actually go there and vote. And nobody in Jamaica will actually want that. So all I'm saying, let us re-examine where we are as a people. The numbers are here. They may not be in our favor, but they are the people's reflection.
As always, a very robust and informative discussion. Bill, come Monday, we reveal more interesting findings. What can we expect?
Question that's on a lot of people's minds, which of the political parties do the people think will do the better job of governing the country during these times? We'll find out Monday.
There you have it. Join us on Monday and every weekday until February 25 to get the answers to more important questions during the Mello TV Bill Johnson poll, and also listen to Mello FM and Rhythm FM newscasts for the recap. I want to thank this evening's guests, Pollster Bill Johnson and political analyst and commentator Paul Bourne. I'm Nicole Hales on behalf of the entire production team. Thanks for watching.